Welcome back, Spiritcast fans. We're back. Whole new cast of characters except for me and Derek, but we're finally back. Welcome. Hopefully you've got your first shot of vaccine. We're still going through it, wearing your masks. But unlike a year ago now, guys, we have spring sports and we have them in full swing. We've had some COVID issues in the past, but all of our sports are playing now. It's been a lot of fun, but not even talking about that now. Let's go straight to Johnny Schaefer here. We have big news in the SJSU men's basketball program as we have hired, as of today, April 6, 2021, Tim Miles, former coach at Colorado State, former coach at Nebraska. And for more on that, let's go to Johnny. Tell us what is for people of SJSU men's basketball to know about for Tim Miles.
Yeah, I think this is a really good hire for San Jose State, who obviously, as we all know, had a really bad year, with not being able to play us home much and just overall struggling playing really, really good teams. And I think Miles is the kind of coach who can really change the scenery. Has the experience in the Mountain West before, coached at Colorado State in 2007 to 2012, and he actually got Colorado to their first NCAA tournament since 2003. So he has some playoff experience. And he was hired by Nebraska just after they fired Doc Sadler, who also were struggling for about 6 years. And just in his second season with the Huskers, he guided them to the NCAA tournament for the first time in 1998. So we can already tell he can kind of change a whole scenery of a team. Unfortunately, they lost to the first round in Baylor. Unfortunately, he struggled for 3 seasons, but he broke out once again with a 22-11 record in 2018, and also has the record for 13 conference wins in each season. They lost to the NCAA tournament. They didn't make the NCAA tournament that year. They were invited to the National Invitation Tournament. And in his last season, they started off 10-12 and were a top 25 ranked team, but injuries kind of derailed their season. So they missed the NCAA tournament. And Miles was relieved of his duties. But since then, he was an analyst for Fox Sports covering college basketball since the beginning of the 2019 and 20 season. And with Nebraska, he finished as the third winningest head coach in Nebraska's men's basketball history, and brings a winning history and posting experience to San Jose State team that really needs it right now. And he brings a 344 record and a 4-8 record of tournaments. So I think it's a really good hire for San Jose State.
Yeah, those are all good points. To clarify, I just have on Sports Reference college basketball coaches his overall record in 389 total coached games from Colorado State, Nebraska, record 187 and 202. However, if you look on this page, a lot of strength of schedule in the double digit numbers for 3 of the 6 seasons or 7 seasons he was with Nebraska. Derek, this is a big hire. We all know you and you mentioned Baylor, Johnny, and at the time of recording, it's the day after national championship. So congrats to Ernie, our graduate assistant in our Spearcast March Madness pool. He gets the bragging rights here. But Derek, what your thoughts on this hire? And Benny, go ahead and go right after Derek. But what are your thoughts on this hire? How do you think it's going to affect the program?
Well, the powers that be at South Campus must have read my column during spring break, because I said they should go with a guy with head coaching experience. Now, I didn't put Tim Miles in there because there's probably 5 billion coaches in there, but Jara, our editor, he wrote a column about they should go the assistant route. And he made the not wise decision to say, I'm going to bet my stimulus money in it on the decision. So Jara, you might want to send me a cut of that, 15%, 20%. I know it might help all of us for tuition. We all need it, but I like the hire. I think Miles, he's been staying connected with the game through TV. He's worked for Fox Sports, like Johnny mentioned, in the Big Ten network. So I think he knows kind of, how to recruit guys from the Midwest, and he has experience coaching the Mountain West. I think it's really helpful to see him built programs like Nebraska back up. They made the tournament once, which is good. I mean, we'll take it for San Jose State. They haven't made the tournament since before I was born, 96. So I think this is a really solid hire. I know Richard Washington's not going to come back. He's going to go pro, but they have a solid young core coming back. Now we'll see how the schedule works out for them and recruiting too, because I believe when Coach Brelo left, they didn't have any players signed, but I think you'll start to see that pick up probably within the next couple of weeks or so, and then we'll see what the coaching staff finalizes. So I think it's a solid hire. I don't know how long the deal was. Hopefully it's like a 4-year deal with the 5th year option, because I think this is a long-term project. But if there's any guy that can do it, it's him. So really solid hire, and I think I'm gonna whisper here. I think they read my article, so they listen to me. So maybe I should get a paycheck for them or something.
And Benny, thoughts on the hire quickly, whenever you got.
I mean, I wouldn't have went so far to bet my stimulus on that. But it's a good hire. I mean, looking at his resume, I mean, he has all the things that you want to see. I mean, building up again, as you guys have been saying, building up the program in Nebraska, doing his thing. I think it's a good hire. I think honestly, at this point, I think anybody would be a good hire to help out this our basketball team. Um, so yeah.
And we look at some of his accolades here in the 2013-14 year for Nebraska, his second year there. He won Big Ten Coach of the Year. And that same year, he won the Jim Phelan Award. He's got the history. He's got the experience. And like Derek said, with a young core. And like Johnny said, he's been a coach to proven that he's been able to change a program. Speaking of changing of the program, if we take a look at some of our women's tennis team, I mean, oh man, they are on fire. They are still remaining undefeated on the season. They are a cool 10-0. They won their last matchup last Saturday, April 3rd, against Fresno State by a score matchup of 4-3, meaning they won 4 out of a total 7 matchups in singles and doubles combined. Now, I know none of us don't really follow tennis all that much, but this team has to be talked about. They're a force to be reckoned with. Derek, I know you've covered a few of their games. What can you tell us about this team this year?
Well, we don't lie on this podcast. I have not, but I've kept up with them. They have a lot of international flair, and I think a lot of that, has to do with the coaching staff for the women's tennis team, because it's hard, especially, usually you kind of have not longevity, a long practice period, before the season, and when spring sports got started, it's just like a sprint. So I felt like the team chemistry was already there, and I think that's really crucial for any successful college program, no matter the sport. So I feel like the tennis team has really rallied together, and I know they posted photos every time they won. They put the fingers up like 10-0, 5-0, 8-0. So give credit to them. They've been playing really well. I wish we could go down there on South Campus because I know they would get a large following. Since we're in this pandemic era of sports. But yeah, they've been playing really solid. I know they have a couple more matches to round up the regular season, and I believe they have conference, even though it's not listed on the athletics website. They're going to be a serious contender for the Mountain West and maybe for the NCAA's too, because this team has loads of talent. And I feel like if they can, like I said, finish the regular season strong, they're going to be a team to look out for.
Yeah, looking at the article here on the SJSU athletics page or sjsuspartans.com, their fun fact this week, they won the doubles point against Nevada, got singles wins from Giovanna Babic, Albana Pedro Galeando, and Lara Marco Mas for the team's 9th win of the season. That was against Nevada. So coming up, they've got Boise State on April 10th at 9 a.m. Pacific, and the next day they go right back at it at Utah State. Both, it's a little tournament, Boise State, San Jose State, Utah State, all going to Logan, Utah to play some matchups. And if they, like Derek said, if they can finish off strong, it could be really good. Let's move here to softball. Benny, you and I have covered a lot of the softball games this season, and it's been, let's say here, a little unfortunate. They've been a little bit, I don't want to say lackluster, but they've been a little bit underwhelming. What can you tell us about softball from what you've seen, previewed, covered? Give us an update on the team.
Couple things I've noticed. Pitching just hasn't been there. Caroline Bowman, last year she was probably one of the top arms on the team. I think she had only given up 30 something odd runs in I think 60 innings, and this year she's already given up 39 earned runs in 42 and 2/3. Same could be said for Janessa Yegi. Same for 26 earned runs in 46 innings, and it looks like those two are the ones that they kind of ride the most. Those both of them combined have almost 90 innings together. Uh, they got 3 other pitchers, and only one of them's pitched 4 innings, and the other 10. And then, I mean, the same can be said for the offense too. It's just not. It hasn't been what. I mean, they lost a lot of people lost a lot of players the last year, but there's still a strong core, I think. but it seems to be those same two, Janessa Lozano and Alyssa Graham, who are the only ones hitting over 300 right now. Everybody else is hitting below 250. Um, so the offense is a problem right now, and so is the pitching. And you can't win games if you can't score runs. You can't win games if you can't stop letting up runs. Same for the defense too. The defense hasn't been good either. Made 20 errors through what 16 games, I think. Yeah, that's just not going to cut it either. So yeah, lackluster would probably be a good word to use for them.
Yeah, they lost Shannon Haddad to the transfer portal, as well as Alona Sullivan, two of their top pitchers from last season. And although the average doesn't show it, Jocelyn Vidal had a breakout game weekend, I should say, a couple weekends ago before their brief pause, which we won't really get into. There's a lot of information out there. We don't have much of it. There's a lack of information out there. But Jocelyn Vidal in their last series against Fresno State was very good. She pitched well in both games and she hit the ball well. It's just a testament. Derek, I saw you on mute. What have you got to say here? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I always ask up the follow-up questions because that's how we roll here on the Spearcast. Woo! But for you, Max and Benny, what do you think the problem is like with the team? I know it's kind of hard for every softball program, trying to build an identity, especially for Coach Tammy Lohman, the first-year head coach. Do you think it's just like more fundamentals or just not building that identity and not having enough time to like get to know your player strengths and weaknesses, or is it just trying to find the right 9 people to play? What do you think are the main issues there?
Well, Benny, if you don't mind me starting here, I think you kind of touched on both points. I think it was the ramp up period, not a lot of time to get to know the team, especially with the first year coaching staff. A lot of moving parts. The same general core is there, although they haven't been performing the same. And then going back to what Benny talked about with the errors, I feel like fundamentally just hitting and fielding and pitching just hasn't been there. And I don't know if that's something on the coaching staff or just building as a team in general, team chemistry, how they play and things they do. But we don't know. I think almost it feels like there's like a lack of chemistry between the coaching staff and the players. You see a lot of the same lineups. Like Benny said, Bowman and Uleg, you're pitching a ton, over 90 innings combined. So you see a lot of the same things. And I mean, I don't want to say the coaching staff is bad, but the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. So Benny, your thoughts?
No, yeah, I think I think Derek poses a pretty good question right there. The quick ramp up, I think, has a lot to do with it again. When I watch this team, it kind of just looks like just flat every game. The energy just doesn't seem there. Some losing teams, you can always see at least a little bit of energy with the team. To me, it just seems like maybe the team just isn't comfortable. It's a completely new coaching staff. I'm sure that's hard to go into. It's like getting a new job. It's like having a job and then you get a new manager and then they're telling you what to do the very next day. They show up.
Yeah.
We all gotta adjust to it, but it just looks like they haven't been able to. They haven't had a chance to be able to catch their breath and adjust to that.
Yeah, Derek, thanks for bringing it up. And let's move it to the other side of the diamond. Let's talk baseball. Johnny, I know for the home opener against San Diego State for men's baseball, you were able to go and broadcast that game. And I know Derek took a listen in. I wasn't able to. I was at work. But what can you tell us? The team's been a little inconsistent, 3-4 on the year. Unfortunately, as of today, April 6th, the only game this week will be happening will be today's game, which Benny, who we have on the podcast here today, will be covering. We won't have live updates as we're recording this at 1:15 p.m. on this Tuesday. So they only play San Francisco at 3:00 in San Francisco as the weekend series against New Mexico has been canceled due to a positive COVID-19 test inside of the New Mexico program. As contact tracing goes on, at least they still get one game. But Johnny, what can you tell us from what you've seen from the baseball team so far this year? They've got some wins and losses. Pitching seems to be inconsistent. What have you seen?
Oh yeah, man, being on the air for 7+ hours was sure fun, but it's really good to be back. But I do like, yes, as you mentioned, the pitching has been a struggle, but I do like the at-bats San Jose State has been able to put on the field so far, as Robert Hamchuk's leading the team with a 500 average, and Ruben Ibarra and Ruben Mercado also have over 300 averages. So the at-bats have definitely been there. But yes, the pitching has been a struggle. But with the 3-4 record to start the season after being delayed a whole month, talking back in March due to COVID protocols, I think it's a pretty solid start for San Jose State. It's not perfect. And, I think today's game, it's at 3 p.m., I believe. I think today's game is really vital because if they can go, 4-4 and, have a little bit of a weekend up, I think it can bring some, a lot of confidence for San Jose State going into, I guess it would be now their next series, which is once again, I believe it's against UNLV. I'm not sure how good UNLV is, but that's a 4-game series during a whole weekend with a doubleheader on Saturday, April 17th. So I think tonight's game is pretty important.
Yeah, looking ahead to that UNLV series, it's a 4-game set, so it's going to be a long one. I'm just trying to pull up their record right now. UNLV, they're a good team. They're a big name program. Everybody knows UNLV. We look at their schedule here. They're 11-7, so they've won 3 in a row. They're 9-2 at home, and San Jose State does play them at home, so that might help. UNLV, a very good home team. On the road, they're just 2-5. So if you're ever going to beat this team, who you're trying to chase down, because of if San Jose State wins today, they go to 4-4. You're trying to chase down UNLV. You win 3 out of 4 or sweep them. You're right back in this race along with UNLV. Derek, I know you've been trying to get back in the broadcast booth. What have you seen from the baseball team, if anything at all? Benny, if there's anything to add that you've got too, go right ahead.
Yeah, I think with the baseball team, Spencer Lawns looked really fantastic. I know he's 2-0, I believe. Kind of saw his stuff last year against Santa Clara, and a lot of his breaking balls weren't, kind of off speed a little bit. His command wasn't there, but now it seems like his command was there. And, I think the beautiful part about, baseball is you can always work on that stuff, 12 months out of the year in the off season. So I think he's really looking good. And I feel like the lineup's been diversified a little bit. And, they've been getting a little bit contributions from like majority of the bottom of the lineup. I think that's really good to see. I think it's unfortunate that they had to wait a month to play because they had a COVID, I guess you'd say not an outbreak, but just like something happened within the team with COVID. So I think, it's kind of hard to build an identity when, you're playing all these games, in a row. And it's only, for baseball, it's usually a 4 or 5 month season. And now it's, basically 3 for them. But I think if they can get on a winning streak, maybe win some series, I feel like this team will be in good shape. Because they lost 2 out of 3 to Cal Poly in St. Louis Obispo. So I think they just need to start winning series. That's the bottom line. That's the name of the game in baseball. Is just don't get swept. Don't try not to split if you can, but get 2 out of 3 at least, or win all 4. I think that's something that we haven't seen yet from SJSU baseball.
Benny, anything to add there?
Yeah, and just to touch off Derek again, another thing about baseball is chemistry. I feel like this is another one of those sports where you absolutely need chemistry. Without it, I think you're pretty much lost. But this team, covering them, they can hit, 1 through 9. Even their bench guys can come up and they can hit too. I know for sure Robert Hamchuk, again, 500 average. That guy leading off and then playing the outfield, he's really good out there. And then Ruben Ibarra, those guys can slug it. And then same can be said for the pitching again. Spencer Long, and I really like Trevor Ernst out of the pen. In 2 appearances, he's had 7 innings, 8 strikeouts. Only given up 1 run, 2 hits. He's been so far through 2 appearances. He's looked pretty good. And again, same thing. Winning series is a very important thing to do, and I think tonight they can pull off a win against San Francisco. 10-15 overall. They do have a 5-game winning streak at the moment, but those things are going to end one day, and could be today.
Yeah, Benny, you mentioned reliever Trevor Ernst. He said he's got 7 innings in 2 appearances. Well, on Tuesday against Cal, he pitched 6 innings out of the bullpen, and that's the first time that's happened since May 4th, 2016, when Zach Wallace did against Grand Canyon. May the force be with you. May the 4th be all. And let's move here. We've got a lot of teams to cover here. Spring sports in full swing. Let's move on to talk about men's soccer here. And it was a little bit of a slow start. The first game got postponed against Air Force. They won the first one, lost, and they've been really good as of late. They're on a current 4-game winning streak. They take on Seattle University on Friday, April 9th at 7 p.m. at home against San Jose. Then they go into the Western Athletic Conference tournament. So if there's ever a time to get right, it's now. I know everybody, this is not our sports that we normally cover, but we do follow here at the Spirit every spring sport, every fall sport, every winter sport, even if there is them. So what can you guys tell me about the soccer team and what's gotten them on this winning streak?
they have the knack for, saving their goal scoring until like the 100th minute, 102nd minute. I believe they've had like 3 or 4 straight games where they've had to go to OT and they've pulled it off. This team never quits, and that's something good to see. I remember covered their season opener against Dixie State. They scored like their final 2 goals within like 10, 15 minutes. And the offense froze for Rudy Castro. Can't say nothing about him. He's just unbelievable. He manages that team. He's like a general out there, and the offense flows through him. But they did qualify for the WAC tournament coming up in Viva Las Vegas. I was just there. So they will be playing next weekend, I believe, or next week, excuse me. So the team seems to be peaking at the right time, which is always, you always want that. And, I know for the seniors on the team, they want to end it with the win this Friday night against Seattle. So I think they've really found their stride. Now, if they could score a little bit earlier, not like give you the fans some heart attacks, and I know parents watch those games and they're like, "Oh, come on," then I think they would be better off. But they've been playing really clutch, and they have that that mentality of that they're never too far out of the game. So I think that's something really good to see out of the men's soccer team.
Yeah, definitely moving to the other side of the field. The women's soccer team got off to a very, very rough start, starting the season 0-6-1. It did not look good, but they won their last two 1-0. They beat Boise State and University of Nevada. And we look at this team and we see that they just haven't been able to get timely goal scoring or be able to stop the ball. A lot of times they weren't able to score and they were losing games 1-0 or 3-0 or just getting blown out 6-1. But lately, it's been one. They won both their games last week, Friday the 2nd and April the 4th, 1-0. And we look at the team, and junior goalie Zoe Aguirre was named the Mountain West Defensive Player of the Week when she had 2 clean sheets. This team just didn't look like they gelled right away. I think it kind of correlates with one of the things that we've been talking about with the softball team, like Derek mentioned, is where they haven't been able to connect as a team. And Johnny, I believe you've covered some, and if anybody else has anything to add, the women's soccer team as of late, they've picked it up. What's changed?
Yeah, I did cover one game, and I also covered as a camera op for another game for our live stream. So, the good camera work was by me, of course. Yeah, I think this this team is definitely getting their stride, and I don't think they'd be able to qualify for any kind of tournament, unfortunately. But I'm sure they would love to finish their season with a 3-game winning streak. That's something to look on to next year, maybe. But yeah, those games where they were losing, I saw it myself, and it was definitely a struggle. The players just didn't seem as into the game as the other side would. But it kind of just depends how you end the season, not how you begin it.
Yeah, definitely. We look forward to any sports coming up. We look forward to continuing to do this Spearcast. We look forward to Tim Miles joining San Jose State. Welcome to the club. Maybe we'll even be able to get him on a Spearcast sometime. We don't know. But this has been the return of the Spearcast. Benny Garcia, Derek Au, Johnny Schaefer. Thank you guys for joining me. If
Well,
any lasting comments, go ahead and plug it right now. DQ, I know you always got the last word.
Well, you guys forgot like golf. Hello. We have
How could we forget? It's DQ42, the golf master.
Yeah. Well, first off, we forgot. Well, let's congratulate Stanford, our neighbors to the north of us in San Jose. They won their third national championship over. It was a thriller game against Arizona. Tons of defense in that game, and I've watched the semifinal and the championship game. My God, Haley Jones is a baller, folks. But the men's golf team, it's been kind of like the Big Dipper, and Boardwalk just reopened, so I'm just going to use that reference. They've been a little inconsistent, and I think it's just because of the lineup's kind of built around senior Sean Yu, who's the number 1 golfer for the men's team. And I think they're just still trying to find their identity. They've played in some really tough conditions. I believe in San Diego it was raining, and then the Southwestern Invitational, their season opener, it was like cold, windy, like 20-mile-per-hour winds. So they haven't really had their ideal course set up because they can hit the ball a long way, and their putters just haven't shown up. Of course, they finished 22nd last week at Stanford at the Goodwin. But it's their big tournament next week. They will be playing they host the Western Intercollegiate presented by Top Golf, the 74th edition. It's probably one of the most known college golf tournaments That will be nationally televised on Golf Channel. So you'll probably be seeing a lot of San Jose State commercials and, the most transformative university by Money Magazine. You'll probably be seeing a lot of that. But they'll be playing at Paso Tiempo, which is just to, I guess, the west of us in Santa Cruz, just over the hill. So that's a perfect time to turn it around. That will be their last regular season event. And then we'll go to the women's golf team, who have been the opposite. They've been really consistent, a lot of top 5 finishes. They've been really balling out of the gate. Kaja Archifal, Antonia Malate, they've been playing some of their best golf. They did struggle a little bit, though, at the Mountain View Collegiate in Tucson. And then the Peen ASU Invitational, they kind of struggled. That was like their first outside top 10 finish, I think, since the season started. They played the Peen ASU Invitational, and then this week they're playing their season finale at the Silverado Showdown. And Jara, I know, asked me, where's Silverado at? So, folks, Silverado's in Napa. It's a resort. I don't know why they just can't say Napa, but it's in Napa. So a little geography lesson for you folks, since we're just coming back from spring break. The more you know, by the way. The Spartans right now are tied for 6 out of 13 teams, but they have a real shot at winning the Mountain West. Of course, their conference championships are in 2 weeks in Rancho Mirage, just down south. So the women's team's been really clicking on all cylinders. They've gotten a lot of contributions from Kaja and Antonia, a little bit here from Jaden Gonzalez and Jordan Parr. If they can just get maybe all 5 of those starters really clicking, that team's going to be dangerous, and they might make their second straight NCAA appearance. And by the way, happy Masters Week. So the Masters and WrestleMania. And I know people are like, oh, WrestleMania is scripted. Listen, it's entertainment, folks. And in this time of being socially distant, we need some entertainment in our lives.
Thank you, Derek. I apologize for forgetting golf. I really shouldn't. As a person of the spirit running this podcast, it's a bad look on my part, so I apologize to our listeners and viewers out there on YouTube and Spotify. But now, for Jonathan Schaefer, Derek Al, Benny Garcia, and for me, Max Miller, follow us at The Spear SJSU on Twitter, thespearsjsu.com, and give us any comments, likes, shares with your friends, and let us know what you guys want us to cover. For Benny Garcia, Derek Al, Johnny Schaefer, I'm Max Miller. This has been the return of the Spearcast.